Okay, we're gonna call this meeting to order. We're gonna consider the approval of the minutes for the June 14th, 2022 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting and take any action necessary.
I reviewed the minutes and that we approve them as presented.
Second motion.
Okay, all say aye. Aye.
Aye.
It's approved. All right, number 3 is hold a public hearing to consider the request of Jerry Ash, applicant owner, for the thoroughfare closure of a portion of Park Place Street, right-of-way adjacent to Lot 4B, Block 5, Lassen Heights Edition, TCA, Titus County Appraisal District ID number 610023503, City of Mount Pleasant, Titus County, Texas, located on the north of Chester Street, east of South Light Avenue, and take any action as necessary.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, tonight we have an applicant, Mr. Jerry Ash. He currently lives at this location right here, but he's also, over the course of time, has purchased his property, and he's purchased this additional lot that was next to it. It also includes part of a really unused portion of a road. It was known as Park Place. There's really not been essentially a road. There's a driveway that I think is utilized by one of the houses. I'm not even sure it's public, even though that's a public, it's a right-of-way, but somebody's put a driveway in there, I think, to access this home here. There's also an existing alleyway over on this side that these owners access in it. So what Mr. Ash is asking is that he'd like to take and incorporate this portion that he's purchased, and that portion that's really wholly adjacent to his newly owned property here. And the reason is he'd like to incorporate that into it. He's created a subdivision plat. I think it's in your packet that you've seen, if we should get this approved through City Council. And they would incorporate that portion of the cul-de-sac into his lot. Go to the aerial, you can see what kind of the situation there. There's down part of this, there's a driveway that's been put in here, not by the city, but I think it's been utilized for the adjacent property owners here. And we're not considering any abandonment of that part of it. The only abandonment part would be up here, the part that's not being used. And really the case being that once he has the ability to own this fully, then he could put a fence up and put a privacy fence up here. That still allows the remainder of the right-of-way that's there to be utilized by the adjacent property owner, and then this alleyway over here is not affected, so there's still access over here. So really, that's the request to you tonight. We did have to call a public hearing and go through the process of notifying property owners that within 200 feet, if people in the audience did get a notice, it's because they were within 200 feet of his property, which was inclusive of this lot right here, what he was asking for as being a property owner there. And basically, we just take it from the adjacency on there and send out that notice. So, and there's a piece here, it's hard to see it here. If I go back, maybe it's because of the survey. Well, and when you see it on a survey, actually, this is wholly contained, and there's actually a little piece that falls out on this side as it's drawn on the survey that he has. So basically none of this portion of this part of the cul-de-sac touches any other property, other than, what's fully inside of this particular lot. Not sure why this lot was developed this way, because technically the size of this cul-de-sac and the right-of-way made this unusable. So it's not buildable unless in his case, unless that portion was abandoned by the city. There's no really, technically, that's why he wants to get a fence, because you can't really use that part that he purchased. So with that being said, I think Mr. Ash is here to answer any questions as the applicant, and if you have any questions to staff, and again, this is a public hearing.
Okay, all Has anybody got any questions for Mr. Ash?
And we did not have any objections from any of the neighbors.
Any questions for Mr. Ash? Okay, all right. We'll open it up to the public. Anybody wants to speak?
Mavis Brush, 1321 South Lyde, Mount Pleasant. I live right on the corner, and the only question I have is, it's not gonna affect any of our driveways or our property lines or anything, right? Yes. Just in the blue, okay, well. Okay. Okay. Right, then I don't have a problem with it as long as he gets what he, has a repetition for, then, 'cause
You're okay? All right. Anybody else like to speak? All right. So do I hear a motion we'll close the public hearing? So do I hear a motion to approve the replat of the property owned, or we've been speaking of from Mr. Jerry Ash?
I make a motion that we approve the, replat.
It's really just you're approving the closure. He'll bring that replat back.
Oh, okay.
At a different time.
I'll second the closure.
Okay, all say aye, or
Aye.
all on, aye. All right, it's done. Okay, now we'll go on to number 4. Consider the approval of replat for the city block 329 being a tract of land located in the Berry Merchant Survey abstract number 358, Titus County, Texas, and in the city of Mount Pleasant, and being all of the remainder of the called 25-acre tract, first tract, all of the remainder of called 10-acre tract, second tract, and all the remainder of the third tract conveyed to the city of Mount Pleasant in a deed found in volume 299, page 135 of the deed of records of the Titus County, Texas, generally located northeast intersection of US Highway 271, North Jefferson Avenue, and US 67, East 16th Street, and take any action as necessary.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is a city-initiated plat of this block. It's block 329, the city of Mount Pleasant blocks. And what we're trying to do is produce the property that we will eventually sell to Chick-fil-A on that corner. But in doing that, that was at one property there that included the Civic Center, and we really didn't have it cleaned up over the years. It's been an old city block, and effectively by replatting it and subdividing that part for Chick-fil-A, then we had to consider all of that property as a replatting, and really it's kind of worked out to get all this cleaned up. Really couldn't find it. This street, Crooks Drive or Lane through here, surveyor really didn't find information on how that was actually dedicated in the past, so it might have been just put in there as a park road or access to the back of the fairgrounds thing. So now we're able to get this dedicated as a city street. We've incorporated the fire station into its own lot, and then the remainder of that is the park and the Civic Center, and then in this corner is the piece that we'll be selling to Chick-fil-A. Now they will, with the approval of this plat, will go through the transaction, and they will come back. They've also are in the process of purchasing the church tract here. They will incorporate that into their whole site. So you'll see this tonight, but then pretty soon, shortly, you should see a plat that incorporates that whole piece. And then we're actually, in this plat, we also, when you look at the plat itself, we also, let me go to the plat there. We also, they requested that we had a mutual access easement that's coming off that existing driveway that's been used by the parking lot there in the park. But we've created a mutual access easement so that they can access through their property and have that. That's one of their, that will function as one of their driveway entrances off the Jefferson, and then they'll have their other off 16th over here, 67. They'll have their other driveway over here coming. So that was one of the sort of the requirements they needed to make this thing work for them. So this is actually the first step to us to get this plat produced and to get that then to hopefully get to closing fairly soon on this thing. Glad to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay. Is there a motion to consider the approval of the replat?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's passed. Now the planning director's report.
Well, the planning director's report is just to tell you that maybe we're getting a Chick-fil-A. We are in next week. We'll be taking that the annexation thing that we've been working on for the last several years about. There are 512 acres on the north side of town. We're taking the city council. It'll incorporate the park, and then there's a number of acres that Luminant has sold up there, and we'll be taking that in, and some developments already occurring up there, and we're in the process of looking at trying to bring water into that site, and we should be getting that fairly soon. And there's actually 5 houses under construction up there right now that want to be in the city.
Isn't there's water and sewer already up there?
There was, they went out and looked at it, tried to scope out the sewer. It was not usable. The sewer, the manholes are there and there's lines, but they didn't think that the lines would function. So they were kind of going through a engineering analysis of how we can actually get sewer to a much bigger area up there, and with a potential lift station location in the park. And if we get that in, then there's the potential of the rest of that Luminant property and parts to the east and maybe to the north that I mean, it's anywhere from maybe 1,000 to 1,400 acres that we might be able to get on this system eventually.
Right.
But this will be the first step of that. So and then there's a piece across the street we're looking at. It's a little triangular piece between 271s.
Yeah.
That he's also coming in the annexation, and we expect to get another way to sewer down to an existing line that we have. I think we can try to procure some easements, not very many, but a few, and get down and get them in on the sewer, and then he'll he's going to go ahead and start some construction up there, but then that'll open up that for another set of homes up there.
Okay.
So it's looking pretty good on the north end of town. It's going to take a little while. It'll take a while to get that sewer project there, but in the interim, then they'll still start doing some development. We've got somebody that, and part of it currently, it's out of the city. He'll come into the city, and he's wanting to start. He's going to build an event center up there, but then he'll do residential homes behind it. So it'll be kind of another part of the city that'll really start developing. Yeah, and that park's kind of a central, almost like having a central park there next to your neighborhood, which I think is going to be a big pull and a big draw. And that property, if you've been up there, where that old Deer Park development was, it's actually really nice. I think it's a very nice piece of property. So I think it'll attract a lot of folks if they want to live up there. That's all I got.
Okay. All right. Hear a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll say aye. We'll adjourn.
Aye.